reason why we're recording is because we're trying to keep records of the live sessions so that for people who may miss it or have problems logging in and whatnot, they can view it and be able to review stuff on it as well. All right, so it's a sort of evidence type of stuff that we're looking at. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at the course outline that you probably downloaded. All right, is everybody seeing this? Just give me a
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
all right, good. All right, so this is a document that you probably downloaded. For those of you who did ECON before, you would notice that there's a significant change to the course outline in terms of its form and what it looks like. So we've been doing some work in terms of redesigning our courses a little bit, sort of whittling down and trying to shape them a little bit into to meet certain standards that are required. So it may be a good idea for you to kind of go through and read through the stuff and sort of get familiar with it. So I have this section here on my information. If we were in normal circumstances, I operate out of the North Learning Center, which is where you see me there. You'd also see my phone contact and a couple of email addresses. The reason why I have this many email addresses is simply because, first off, you're submitting your assignments online in the e-classroom, but I'm providing these as other forms or sources of communication, one. And two, in the event that anything happens with the COSAT website, there's the Gmail account, the wayne.bisu@gmail.com, as a backup. So just in case anything goes wrong, we have that to be able to meet your requirements for the course. And you have my phone contact, which allows us to stay in better contact, which is one of the reasons why I want to set up the WhatsApp group, so I can disseminate information and ask questions of the group faster, so that people could begin to respond. Because more than likely, most people check their phones more often than they check their email, unless of course you have your email on your phone as well. At any point in time, if you want to stop me and ask a question, please do so. Okay. All right, so the next item we have there is office hours. Office hours runs Monday to Thursday from 1 to 4, and it's via Zoom, Meet, or WhatsApp. Now, the office hours is really designed to handle anybody who has individual issues that they would like to meet and have a discussion to get further clarification. The idea would be contact me and we'll set up a meeting, whether on Zoom or whether I just call you on WhatsApp and we have a chat about things. Similarly, you can call me during these times, basically, because I should be, up and about, because I'm working from my home, but it doesn't mean that I'm not putting in time for the student body in the event that you have some issues that we want to be looking at. Okay? Any questions on that so far? All right, moving on. So the communication policy, you can read that. Because of the fact that I'm giving you my private email and my private phone number, I'd like you all to just kind of respect some form of privacy for me on weeknights and Sundays. All right. But the nice thing about it is that even though you send a message, it's not obtrusive in the sense that I'm connected to the phone. But if you send a message, at least when I see it, I can respond to the question, and hopefully it'll still be within some sort of time frame that will be useful for you. So feel free, and of course, I know sometimes emergencies come up, so that's one of the reasons why I want to have a fast way to communicate with people as well. All right. As I said, we'll see how that works out, but you need to be, if you are sending me things, please use your student email to communicate things, especially formally. If you're sending an assignment or you're making a formal request, use your student email, because other than that, I will not be able to recognize who it's coming from, because of sometimes the different names that people have for their email accounts and their online presence, their social presence. sometimes doesn't meet with the requirements of the college. So as much as you can, use your student email for all communication. All right, and I will try to do the same thing with myself. All right, so there's a course overview, which you all could go about reading, and it kind of tries to explain a little more in more detail what the whole course is about. But what is a little better is this is a concept map of what we're going to be looking at. I'm going to try to make it a little bigger, so that you can see what we're looking at. For those of you who have done this before, you'd recognize some of these things. The course is designed and laid out in 8 components or 8 units, and the 8 units have relationships to the other sections. So we start with key concepts, which is the first block across the top there. Then we look at economic systems and how they operate. Then we look at market operations, the market system, because we're going to focus our attention then when we finish looking at the economic systems on the operations of the market economy. And in that market economy, we're going to be looking at how the operations of demand and supply, which is how markets work. And then there's the conditions that affect demand and supply, which we call elasticity. And in relation to that, we need to also look at consumer behavior. Now, consumer behavior is a little bit funny in the sense that consumer behavior, the way I do it, I will do consumer behavior before I do demand. So I'm going to bring this up here a little bit because consumer behavior is what we use to determine what demand looks like, but I'll explain that. And in relation to consumer behavior, we're also going to be paying attention to the firm's behavior. And there are 2 markets in which we're going to be looking at a little bit of the operations of both consumers and firms, and that is in the commodities market and the factors market, or the factor market. The factor market, for those of you who might be a little lost, is the market where factors of production are sold. Now, factors of production, primarily the factor that you're going to be looking at is wages and wage determination, which is the factor market for labor. So many of you all may be working, so you are active participants in the factor market for the simple reason that you have offered yourself up for employment. So you, to a firm or an organization, be it the government or otherwise, and that means you are a participant in that factor market. Similarly, you are also a consumer, which means you're also participating in the commodities market, the commodities being goods and services. That makes sense? All right, so we have a section on that. And then under consumer behavior, we're going to be looking at 2 particular consumer behavior theories. There are few, but where we're going to focus on indifference curves analysis and marginal utility. And under firms behavior, we're going to be looking at perfect competition, monopolies, oligopolies, and monopolistic markets, or monopolistic competition. So in a nutshell, this diagram outlines very quickly what the entire course is going to be about. Now, for people who have done this before, this should look familiar. But don't look at the mountain that is in front of you and get panicked, because I know that is a possibility, given that people have expressed that they have had quite a lot of fear related to it. So don't worry. The reason why it's blocked out like this is because we're going to be tackling things one little piece at a time moving forward. And eventually, when we finish, we'll be completing this entire course. Now, one of the things that is also included is, why are we making you do this course? You can read all of this on your own. I don't have to go through all of these things. But practically, one of the reasons why we put microeconomics and macroeconomics into the program, the management program and the associate degree program, is that it provides foundational information or knowledge that a lot of your other higher level courses kind of depend on. So costing and management and costing actually can use some of the information here. For those of you who have done marketing, the area of consumer behavior links with some of the marketing areas that you look at. Um, for those of you doing the bachelor's in management and entrepreneurship or business admin and entrepreneurship, you will be linking with another course called managerial economics, and this particular course will require you remembering um, elasticity and consumer behavior, because it's going to be based upon these areas in terms of decision making for firms at operational levels. So the course in itself is a foundation on which other disciplines are built. So that's the reason why we're doing this course, and why most management programs have some form of economics in it, be it combined micro and macro, or two separate courses. We've gone the route of getting two separate courses done. All right, so again, you all can go through all of these. These are the learning outcomes. Um, this is interesting. Was a newer development here in the course outline. So it kind of breaks down the 10, it worked out to be 10 learning objectives that this course has, which is explain key terms. So basically it's read, the student will be able to explain key macroeconomic concepts such as resource allocation, consumer behavior, demand, supply, firms, market structures, and factor income. So as you see this code here, K1 to 2, that refers to the area in which it falls in the domains of learning. So the belief is that if you are aware of these concepts, it will help you understand how a course is designed. So the cognitive domain really refers to your knowledge and your understanding of things. Your psychomotor domain refers to your ability to manipulate things, psychomotor. And your affective domain refers to things that are attitudinal, that it impacts upon your behavior or changes your behavior. So if you look at this course sits heavily in the cognitive domain because it requires a lot of the development of a lot of knowledge. Because again, because it's a foundation course, which is why it's coded 100, the course is ECON 120. It is supposed to be done as foundation for other courses. So the knowledge that you get will be foundational for other courses to sit on, and will actually improve your performance in some of those courses if you get this done sequentially. However, there is a connection into the area of your behavioral or your attitudinal things. So, for example, number 4, relate microeconomic theory to your personal life. That is attitudinal. So most people see economics as something that is hard or difficult, because most times what happens is that you don't see economics as being something that is real, that represents your behavior, because that's what
So I have a
microeconomics.
question.
Yes, go
So
ahead.
based on something you just said, right?
Uh-huh.
My advisor gave me this course along with Caribbean business environments. Should I be
What?
doing these two things together?
Um, no, because micro and macroeconomics was set up as prerequisites for Caribbean business environment.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the way it's built, um, the way Caribbean business environments is set up, it really identified. Well, I think no, there was a change that was made to the content of Caribbean business environments. Interesting for you to tell me what happens. Who was your advisor?
Uh, is it Janelle Weeks soon?
Okay, well, she would have been informed whether or not there was a change. But generally, we ask students before they do Caribbean business environments to do micro, macro, and marketing before they actually tackle that, and entrepreneurship. But I think
Oh,
there was some redesigning of that course as well, so the prerequisites may have changed for it. Again, I haven't been paying attention to what was been happening with that course, but when I
I
when
think
I taught it, it was a requirement across the board.
well, I dropped it. I just wanted to know if I should have re-register for it, but I think I'll stick with the drop-in part.
Okay. Did you get a course outline for it?
Yeah, no, I was like, no, she didn't give it yet.
Who was the teacher? Miss Dr. Bahau?
Priscilla
Dr.
Bradshaw, I think.
Bahau. Bahaw.
Really? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Priscilla Bahau. All right. Okay, because there was a redesign on that course, and I haven't seen the redesign yet because we've been all focused on working on these documents. So we kind of working a little bit in silos, but some
Okay.
connections were made before. So actually, that's interesting because this talks about here the learning outcomes coming from for this course, but the next page here links those courses to the program. So the primary program that this course is connected to, but all of the other courses connect with, is the Management and Entrepreneurship Bachelor's Program. So these are the specific learning outcomes from that program that it links to. So all of these things here are what from the other program, from the entire program, bachelor's program, um, is linked to this course. So this course helps to support the program objectives of the entire bachelor's program. All right. So again, it's about linkages between learning outcomes and where they impact. So a lot of analysis that goes into the whole thing. Now I did PDF this document because it's a little sensitive when you move it around, things shift. Because normally I'd give you a Word version, but I think I feel safer with you because the formatting on this was a pain in the butt, to say the least. All right, so the next section here is looking at, let me just close this down a little bit and shift it across. That links the learning outcomes with the individual assessments or the assessments utilized for this course. Now, if you've done this course before, you'd be familiar with this. And the course is assessed using really simply four, well, let's say five forms of assessment. So we have an individual research assignment, which is what is called self-directed learning. And that will count for about 20%, and it covers these learning objectives, the one that are checked off of the 10. You have an article journal to do, which then is another 20% exercise that will touch on the other, well, every one but one. Then you have unit quizzes. So as opposed to a midterm, so because of the online shift, we used to do a midterm for 30%, but instead of doing a midterm, what I've designed instead is 7 unit quizzes that you will complete throughout the semester. So it'll be continuous evaluation. So as you do a unit, then a quiz will be done, and we'll talk about that in more detail in a little bit. All right. All right. So you can read this and get the idea that of what's happening there. Let me just make that a little bigger so you might be able to see it. Then you have now the two last ones is probably the what we call the summative test or evaluation. Collectively, they count for 30%, and what it does, it is one project that is done in a group that requires the production of a written project and the creation of an oral presentation from that one thing, and it's given a weighting of 20% for the written project and 10% for the oral presentation. So those are the assessments that we're going to be utilizing for this course, and how is it going to be organized. So this document also provides us with methods of teaching. These are the things I'm planning to utilize with you guys, which you'll see. So this brings us to the course calendar, which is something I guess you all would need to pay attention to. Not I guess, you would have to. Because each week, I've broken it down to weeks and indicated to everybody what they need to be doing per week and what units they have to be dealing with and so on. So how many, for those of you who went online to the e-class, did you see the textbooks?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
one of the textbooks, so I think the better way to do that is to actually go to the class. You're still seeing me, right?
Yes.
All right. Crap. Wrong,
Textbook 1 and 2, so you're talking about, sir?
different textbooks, yeah. You're also seeing me. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to spend some time gaping through my PC sometimes.
I seen 4 textbooks, a dictionary and 3 textbooks.
Right. So I wanted to kind of point out something in particular that I wanted to pay attention to. So I enrolled you all in the class. Where are we? Where are we? All right, here it is. So much classes there. Okay, so you see the first one here. Are you all seeing this, by the way? Is it large enough? Or should I make it a little bigger?
Yes, sir.
No, it's fine, sir.
All right. So this first textbook here is the required textbook. The others are reference textbooks that you can utilize. So the readings from the course outline come out of this textbook. All right. And of course, you would have downloaded this already, which is the course outline. And I provided this dictionary here. Now, I could possibly get in trouble for these 3, but this one is something that I wanted to show you all because that textbook is quite interesting. So that textbook is the microeconomics version of this. I'm going to open this up for you to look at. This is a textbook that is provided by a university organization. It's written by a university organization, but it's provided in what is called open commons, meaning that it's allowed. It allows for anybody to utilize the textbook without having to worry about and distribute it to students and whatnot without having to worry about copyright infringement because it's published. If you look at it, this textbook is content produced by Opens, is licensed under Creative Commons. Creative Commons provides us with an opportunity to be able to download it. So you all can actually download it, but you don't have to because it's available on my page. Now the problem with the other books that are also on it, that's this. There's a Sloman, I think, and Ellipse. Those aren't produced under Creative Commons. So chances are that I could get in problems for that, but I had it up last semester, so I simply just brought them over to this one, hoping that, because for me, the more text that you have available, the easier it might be for you to source information, at least for the theory parts of the text. Now, the nice thing about this textbook is that it provides you with some online linkages that allows you to investigate things. Now, a nice thing, so let's say I said to you, if we go to the course outline. So it says here for Unit 1, for Week 2, your reading for that class is Chapter 1, pages 9 to 17. See that there? Okay. So if you go to the textbook now, see it there, page 9. All you have to do to get to page 9 is you don't have to go scrolling through. You just click on it so that it's linked one time, and that way you can navigate textbook much easier. Plus, there are little things in it that allow you to link to an article. So see here, like a free website, they give you a link to look at stuff. They link to videos that show you more information about different things. So I think the textbook is a little more user friendly than the other textbook that we were using before, which was the Sloman, which you have access to because it's also there. So I believe the one I have is the Sloman 6th edition, and I included in the course outline lower down the chapter references for that, and that's this textbook. Some of you might recognize this textbook from Roytech folks. You all use this textbook, or you all had a designated text from the college?
We didn't need a textbook, I think. I can't remember. We did, but we didn't use this one.
All right. You didn't need a textbook, so what resources did you end up with?
The lecturer provided us with articles and different things. We didn't really use a textbook.
Okay. All right. So I'm still going to have you go to textbooks because sometimes the articles don't necessarily, or the way in which it is to, one of the things that we're trying to also teach you is how to discriminate information, which is a 100 level requirement as well, how to go about conducting research. So you would actually see that in the course outline here, where it speaks to the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes also requires you to conduct research. So I can't have you, I can't just bring everything to you. I need you to be able to understand how to go about conducting research. So I can provide you with tools, but you still have to put some effort into it. Not saying that I'm going to provide some of those same things that they're talking about there, because one of the things that I included in the schedule is also YouTube links for different little clips that you could look at to help find an alternative medium to understanding the concepts. All right, so the plan for the first unit is that I'll put up a PowerPoint presentation. There's a reading attached to it, and there are a couple of YouTube links that you'll go and look at it. And then when you spend the week looking at that from September 23rd going onwards, once I load it up, it becomes live. Let me just put it this way. And you interact with the material, and then you tackle a quiz for this unit. Does that sound logical? Then you do unit 2, you go through the stimulus information that's provided for it, and then you tackle a quiz for that unit. So as you do a unit, we're testing it out and moving on. Now the way the test is set up, it is small. Well, there's details here, but as the units become more complex, you're going to find that there's a lot more material that has to be dealt with to understand it. So like when we get to consumer behavior, which I am treating as a unit 3, you have a lot more material that you have to go through, a larger section in the textbook. You have 2 sections here, chapter 6 and appendix B, which is lower down in the textbook to deal with that. All right. Any questions thus far based upon what you're seeing in terms of technique or methodology?
So I love the fact that the YouTube things are uploaded and then the exam after it, so we'll have a fresher reminder when time for the exam for that week.
Right. So it's the idea is that the exam will be open for about a week at a time, and I'm offering you all 2 attempts. So the exam is, so what I also did is I extracted from it a course calendar for us to look at, which extracted that same information there that we were looking at before. So the quiz is, or the 7 quizzes follow through all of the units, and each unit is partially assessed by that. And I also put in certain things, deadline dates for your individual assignments. So I know you need to be going through all of those today. So we're going to go through all the assessments now, because basically all assessments are live now, from today onwards. So we'll be going through them. I just wanted to, so everybody's understanding what the intention of how the e-classroom is going to look, so that when you go to the e-classroom, so this is where you just have your basic student resources. This section here will be where I'm setting up for you to submit assignments. Then we'll be doing unit 1, then unit 2, then unit 3, well, unit 4 and 5, and so on. And each block will be a different unit. I'm not building this week by week, although you'll be tackling it week by week. But you'll be looking at it unit by unit. And as you complete a unit, you just move on to the next one. So be it, you're coming down until we get to basically the 8 units completed. Now there's one unit that is not being, has readings and stuff, but it's not going to be built into a block, and that is unit 8. Unit 8 is 5, 6, 7, 8. Unit 8 is going to be done through self-directed study, which is contained in your first assignment. And that first assignment is for 20%. So basically what we're doing is we're asking you to examine the material for Unit 8 on your own. Now, for further details of the unit requirements, the course outline also continues as you pass the schedule. It goes into the textbooks that we just spoke about. Then I give you the detailed content. So for every unit, these are the specific learning outcomes for the unit itself. So I've identified these here for you. So it means that if you are unclear what the unit is trying to do, this is what it's trying to do. It's trying to present information for you to tackle these learning outcomes that I identified unit by. And you'd see I put in or repeated the readings from the recommended text, and I also included the slogan that you also have in the download, which is the reference text. So it's identified the chapters and the links. So you should be able to make a link and look at the situation there. All right. So far, so good. Everybody's following this in terms of the layout of the course outline.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I know it looks
Yes, sir.
I know it can look overwhelming now because the document is 40 pages long, and it just don't panic. The reason why it's so detailed is that the more details we provide for you, the better you're able to navigate through. So you're not guessing at what we're doing and what you're supposed to be doing. These are the things that you would need to interact with. So the unit that I was talking about that you're going to be working on your own is a small unit. It's unit 8, and it only has 2 learning outcomes. Okay, I'm seeing messages coming from people. Right, so this is about distribution of income. This is what I was talking about with the factor market. All right. What the hell? All right, so let's look at assessment 1. All right, so the details of assessment 1 is here in appendix 2 of that document. So what you're doing is you're doing a research paper, and these are the instructions here that you would submit and yada, yada, yada. And these are the learning objectives that it tries to evaluate. and the learning outcomes that are going to be assessed. And this is the instrument here, the questions themselves. So the assignment is broken into 3 areas. The first area is demand, supply, ceilings, and floors, in which you have 5 questions to respond to, and you see the mark schemes next to it there. Then you have economies and diseconomies of scale and the long run cost curve. And you have these 3 questions here that you need to answer. And the distribution of income, which has to do with the factor market. And you have these 3 questions here to respond to. This is the marking scheme. So the content counts for 70%. The layout and organization of the document is 10%. Your language usage is valued at 10%, and citation is 10%. Now, there is the rubric that guides the marking of the entire thing. So this could give you further information of what I'm looking for and how you're going to be assessed. And this, the idea here now is that you have lots more information to help you make an idea when you have a good evaluation, a good essay or a good project done or not. All right, so looking at this is the individual assignment. That's the first one. If I go to the course schedule, you'd see that the deadline date for submission for that is individual assignment due November 8th. So this is where we need to engage in some discussion. Having looked at that question, let's go back to the question so that you could see it and make this decision at this point in time. These are the questions. If you have your own copy, you can look at it as well in appendix. In the appendix, pay attention to it and see which one is there. All right, appendix 2. Do you think that is enough time for you to complete the assignment and submit it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So
Yes, sir.
the time frame we're looking at there is from now until November the 8th. Was that it? Okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's almost 9 weeks. That's a bit long, I find. Did I put that as individual November 8th? I think you all need to get that finished faster, you know. I don't know what you all feel.
No, sir. Perfect. It's perfect. We're all good. Perfect timing.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
5, 6, 7. That's 8 weeks. That's almost more than half the semester. Now, you gotta remember, that is not the only assignment you have. So you have that, and then you have a journal assignment to do, which we haven't talked, and that is required to be finished by December 6th. I guess, okay, a month apart. And then your group project is the 16th of December. You're doing your presentations, but you are submitting your final project by the 24th of December. And Mr. Brooks will be familiar with this. I kind of felt that the Christmas Eve was going to be a bit problematic, so I was suggesting, and it was agreed to, that we'll look at Mr. Brooks, it was the 27th, huh?
Yes, sir.
27th
December.
Now, I know it sounds a little tricky that you'll have more than one assignment due on the 27th. 27th is the Sunday after Christmas, would be the deadline for submitting the actual final project. But your presentation would go off before. Now, the reason for that is that if during your presentation I see some problems or issues, I can help you. It'll give you time to correct it on the final project, so you don't lose out twice. You don't get punished twice for the same mistake you did. All right. I.
So we doing the oral presentation.
Kiba, I'm not hearing you properly.
I say we get the to do the oral presentation.
Okay, you're breaking up real bad. No, you're breaking up very bad.
She's speaking about something about oral presentation. I heard.
Yep, there's
So
oral.
wants to know how you're doing the oral presentation.
As an online session like this.
Yes.
Yeah, Miss Hamilton, your audio is having real problems. Okay.
So
All right.
before you move on, I need to ask a question.
Yep, go ahead.
For someone like me who, remember last semester I was in the class
Yep.
and I already did the individual assignments, it was marked. Was my situation there?
Well, you kind of have a heads up, but what I'd require you to do is to check back and see what you did and make sure it meets the requirements, because a slightly different element comes up from, because I think you left before you actually submitted it online. One of the things that you're going to be doing with your assignments is you're going to be submitting them via Turnitin. And the requirement is that there must be no more than what we call, let's see, a 15% similarity. So this comes up with a question now. How many people are familiar with the Turnitin function of the eClassroom?
I am.
I am.
I am too.
The better question for me to ask is, who is not?
I'm not.
All right. So who's
So what's the question again, sir?
How many of you are not familiar with the Turnitin function on the eClassroom? So somebody said I am not. Who's that?
Catherine Serum.
Catherine?
I'm not Cassie Mendez.
Cassie Mendez. All right.
I'm not Catherine, sir.
Ranger. Anybody else? Well, Mr. Brooks, you were asking. You were familiar.
No, I'm familiar with it.
All right. Okay. So what the Turnitin is, it's a plagiarism check, where students are required to submit their work into a piece of software that is going to compare your work with the work of other students in the college and other websites around the world from other databases all over the place. So what they're doing is to compare what you've done with what was done by other people and other web sources of information to determine how much of that may or may not be your own work. If it finds that you have not done, well, the vast majority of it is not your work, you will get a rating, a similarity rating. So it's saying this piece of work that you've done is similar or exactly the same as something here, and they will quote the source that they found where the similarity came from. We are asking that when you put your documents up into the similarity test, we are looking for you to maintain no more than 15% similarity in your document with other people's documents. That 15% therefore requires that you may submit your work up and it comes up with a high figure and then it didn't get fixed, if you understand what I mean. You have to fix it and correct your stuff to get it, because the instruction that we have now is that if you don't, I'm going to go to the, let me go to the instructions for the assignment here. All right. All submitted work will require appropriate citation. The APA format is recommended for use in this department. if you are unsure about this, right? So I provided this link here for people. What does it talk about with the EPA? Let me put it in this one. All right, here it is. Submissions must be made in soft copy to the submission point of the e-classroom. Students are required to submit the assignment in the Turnitin submission point. Please ensure that your assignment does not exceed a similarity score of 15%. Submissions made after the due date, yada, 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 exceptions. Now, the other issue that comes up with this is that if it is above 15%, it won't be marked. So you have to get it down to that 15% comparative ratio or similarity ratio. Okay. The idea is that we're saying it's not that you can't use other people's work to help write your own work. What we're trying to make sure is that you are able to make it your own work. Let's put it that way. Other people can influence what you have to say, but you must say it and express it in a manner that makes it your own. All right. So in essence, what it is really a little place that you have to go load your document on. The document will do a comparison. It might take, sometimes it takes about an hour for the software to run its comparative. Sometimes, depending upon the usage, just a few minutes. And it'll come back with a report. The report will have links all over it for you to see where the comparisons are, where the similarities are, and how to fix. And then you have to take a document now, which means you have to download the report and then make your repairs, fixes. And then the idea is that you get to resubmit it again to the Turnitin tool, do the comparison again, and see what kind of results you get, and until you get it down below that 15%. That, Catherine and Latoya, you all sounding familiar now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things that we were encouraging people to do is, if you've never been online, there was a course that was running for all students, and it didn't matter what year you were in, that you can enroll in online. It's a self-paced course on how to use the e-classroom. You all received an email about that from registry? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. I'm seeing so what you can do, it's self-paced, there's no grade for it or anything, and there's no charge for it either. If you log into that class and register for it, it will teach you all of the tools that we're going to be using in the e-classroom, if you're unfamiliar with all of them. So you could try. In fact, you might learn some things that I still struggling a little bit with something. Seeing Miss Bonnet had said that she didn't hear about this before. So, all right. So that tells me that some of you all haven't done Libs 130 yet. Is that the case, Catherine?
Repeat, sir.
Some of you all haven't done Libs 130 yet.
I did it already. Just not a grade.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm talking about the people who said that they were unfamiliar with the Turnitin.
So I did it already as well, but she didn't do Turnitin with us.
Yes, sir. I did it already, and it refreshed my memory.
Okay. Then I might recommend that you guys go take a look at that self-paced course online and check it out. All right. It should give you clear directives of how the thing works, because when I set it up, I'll expect that you can use it. I mean, if you have challenges, we could always work it out together. All right. Okay. So, any other questions about that? Oh, sorry. There was a question that was asked. That was, how should the oral presentations be done? Okay. So, first off, oral presentations are going to be done by groups. So that's something actually we're going to have to stop and get you all into groups. There are 26 people in the class registered for the class, but we only have 25 people here right now. Okay, so I want 5 groups of 5, and well, one group can become 6 if the person who's not here ends up in the class, or turns up in the class. We may have well, you know how it works. You know, some people add to a class and then they can't make it and they drop out. So basically what happens is the 5 people get together and they start their research, they compile their work and whatnot, and they write their project, and then they design a presentation. And the way the presentation is going to be done online is that on the day of your presentation, which just out of interest is your presentations will be done on the 16th of this can change because I think I'm actually in exam week here. I'm thinking of the 16th of December, but it can change back to the 9th. So for those of you who are not aware, the semester is only 13 weeks long because we lost 2 weeks at the beginning of the semester, or the beginning of September. So we may have to look at you doing your presentation on the 9th, because the week of the 13th to the 19th is examinations. And from what I heard from today's COVID report, the Minister of Health has indicated that he has given permission to certain institutions to conduct exams. So I suspect that we may have some final exams for people in different subjects, especially people who do like 6 subjects and stuff. Not throwing anything out there, but we may have some issues with the 16th, because the 16th is the exam week. So I might need to move that presentation date back to the, what did I say was the 9th of December, to take it outside the exam week. That actually makes better sense right now, just to be on the safe side. So I will update and put up a schedule separate from the course outline. This is in the course outline, but I'd like your schedule to be a little separate so that you could look at it from a different perspective. Any thoughts on that? So also, we were talking about how presentations go. So your group comes online, one of your members of your team will take control, or I'll give over control of the meeting, and they will be able to project their own laptop onto the thing, and everybody takes turns or moves through whatever system they've designed in presenting the content from the questions that has been asked of you for that assignment. So if we look at the assignment itself, all right, what you're actually doing, for those of you who've been here before, this is not going to be new. You're going to be conducting a country analysis. All right, let's see. All right, so students will be formulated into small groups of 4 to 5 persons and complete a country analysis on a country assigned to them by answering the questions listed below. The response for each question should be no more than 500 words. Each question must be answered separately and compiled into a project document that will be submitted via the Turnitin portal and maintain a 15% similarity rating or less. All projects must have a cover page, content. Well, this talks about the arrangement. So what are the questions that are asked? All right, these are the questions here. What type of economic system does the country have? Explain some of the benefits of this system to the country and some of the drawbacks. How does this type of economic system affect demand and supply decisions by households and firms? What are the dominant types of firms that exist in this economy? What is the dominant type of market structures? How does this market structure affect output prices and profitability in the country? And the last question is, how has the current COVID-19 pandemic affected the demand and supply of individuals and consumers in your country of investigation? Depict where relevant with the use of diagrams. All right, and then we also have to conduct some, you have to write an introduction to the country, which is sort of like a demographics of whichever country you're doing, you want to tell us something about it. So this is a good bit of work because you have to actually investigate the country to answer those questions, to make some determinations as to, well, this is this and that is that and whatnot. So the first thing, or one thing I want to do tonight is to actually put you into groups. Now, I don't want to put you into groups myself. I prefer that you make decisions. And I want to take a break at this point in time and allow you all to chat among each other and try and put yourselves into groups of no more than 5. You all want to try that? And then when
So it's okay if you just group us and we'll work together.
no.
Yeah, you can go ahead and if it is I could choose, Rayon and Crystal
wait,
don't mind
hold
being
up,
in
hold
a
up,
group
hold
with
up.
me.
You need to talk to them first. You don't just can't suggest them this way. But I also want us to take a little break because it's coming up almost on 2 hours now. But I want you all to I need to take a stretch. Let's put it that way. Want to get, so I want to get 5 groups of 5 coming out of this thing here, and then you all would need to have to select a country as well. That's the other thing. So let's take a 10 minutes if you all don't mind. I'll stop the recording now. So I'll break the recording up into two elements.